Hey, good evening. Dave Wilson of the Ring of Hire Show. Hey, everybody. Tonight, I'll tell you what, I can't thank them enough here. We have Staff Sergeant Luis Milton and Sergeant First Class Jackson. How's everybody doing tonight?
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Awesome.
Yes,
Thanks for having us on.
yes, we
Yeah,
are
and thank you
welcome.
for your service. I'm going to say that first off. But tonight, everybody, I'm excited just to sit here and talk about the United States Army. And, if you have children out there, you have some questions, I'll try to answer them even later on afterwards. But, we're going to just go through everything from day one. So, I'll be right back after this video. Now you gotta love that video. That thing really gets you going there.
Yeah, it was nice.
Very motivating, yes, sir.
Especially if you're the recruiter, you understand all those words. I can imagine. Hey, again, like I said, listen, I thank you both for coming on. This is it was a total shock, and I know you said you tried to do this, and I really thank you. But at this time, I want to just introduce yourselves, and you could tell us, if you want to start out, Staff Sergeant Milton, about your background, what you do in the Army, and then we'll talk to Sergeant First Class Jackson.
Okay. Well, first, Mr. Wilson, thank you for having us on. I greatly appreciate this opportunity to be on your platform so that way we can just discuss plans and benefits regarding the Army Reserve. And definitely, again, like we appreciate it. So, my name is Staff Sergeant Milton. I have been in the Army total service for 18 years.
Love it.
Started off.
I love it.
I started off in the reserves. I did 10 years reserves, and now I'm currently on active duty. And I love it. I would not choose to do anything else. My primary job is unit supply specialist.
Right.
So I actually had the opportunity to do a lot of the procurements, do a lot of the requisitionings, and I took advantage of the programs to actually go to school and get a few degrees, which definitely assisted me right now, even in recruiting. Although I'm
Right.
new to recruiting, but still, it allowed me to be established, to go out, be encouraged, and just like put the information out there as well. So
Out there.
I enjoy what I do for sure. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I could tell when we were at the job fair. You were just, full of energy, and you're in that position to where you have a lot of, that candidates and young recruits that want to come in, and it's a lot of questions. I mean, that's why I thank you for coming on. And you are in Charlotte, North Carolina. I know you're in Allentown, PA, but you're a Charlotte, North Carolina, right?
Yes, sir. I'm from Charlotte, North
Right.
Carolina,
Nice.
but today we are currently in the Allentown recruiting station,
Awesome.
and this is where we are. So our information, this opportunity will allow us to have a lot more exposure, and
Yeah.
perhaps we could have a lot more candidates that can come into the office and ask those questions,
Yeah.
and we can assist them with furthering their personal life and their careers all at the same time.
Love it. And Sergeant Jackson, if you want to introduce yourself, I think it's great. You have 20 years too, I think. Woof.
Yes, sir. So I'm First Class Jackson. I've been in 20 years. I joined fresh out of high school in Columbia. I've been doing this for such a very long time. I've always been grateful for the opportunities that the
Right.
Army have provided me. My trade in the Army is food service culinary management NCO. That is my official position. But right now, I am a detail recruiter for the United States Army stationed here in Allentown.
Wow, it's
Yes, sir.
awesome. So you're going to be retiring soon, or you're both really? All right, 20 years, right? That's what it goes.
Yes, sir. I
Yes,
mean,
sir.
so that's kind of one of the plans. Like
Right.
you serve the Army, you do your time, you go ahead and retire. So
That's
technically, I would be 38 years old retired.
nice. That's what I tell people that all the time. A lot of retired vets, or even even people like myself. I always said I wish I would have or could have. I only did the 4 years. I look back and say, wow, I'm 59 now. I would have been retired. And I see other people, and that's why I want to talk about tonight. Like full time Army and the reserves, how you can get that. Like you said, it's strong there. 38 years old. That you've done. You do a lot of great years, but look at the benefits of what you get after that. So when you retire, let's just go on that subject right now. So after your 20 years, whether it's reserves or full time, you're retired. You're retired at that age, and then you get yourself a pension, right?
Yes, sir. But for the reserves, it does operate a little bit different. So
Okay.
I want to explain both of those options,
Okay.
right?
Good. Right.
So because we are active duty, right, when we retire, we do receive our pension like
Okay.
once we retire. But for the
Nice.
reserve, it's a little bit different. For the reserve, you receive your retirement at your retirement age. So I
Oh
definitely want to
wow.
make
Okay.
sure that
Wow. Yeah.
that is
That's
also clarified. And then along with that, um, we're going to talk about the thrift savings plan as well, because it does
right.
operate like a 401k. And the benefit of the thrift savings plan is the fact that it is a government securities investment. It's a
Right.
low risk investment option, and it guarantees that your principal balance is actually protected. So no matter what the market is going on, like if the Dow is up, if it's
Right.
down, the
Nice.
money is safe if you're utilizing the G fund.
So you're actually
Also,
putting money. You're putting. I mean, you're basically getting your retirement, but then you can put extra money in, like certain percentages. Is that how that is?
Correct.
yes, correct.
Nice, nice. And you're
So
just
in
putting that
addition,
in there. Oh, good.
so in addition to the money that you invest, the Army will match up to 5%. So they
Okay.
give you 5% on top of that. It's called the blended retirement service.
That's one of the things that I didn't have. That's outstanding. I mean, not only top of your pension there, but then you're going to get, when you can put savings in for that. And I try to tell, I always say the younger generation or anybody like that, but to explain to them what a 401k, because like say at my work where you match a dollar for up to 3% and then 50 cents, it's a no brainer when you're putting $5 and you're making 10. I mean, and
Yep.
like you said, the investment and that is what I was blown away by when you had told me that about that. So how many years when a person comes in and they say, you know what is the minimal amount of years now that you can do? And versus like say like when I was in, you had a 2 year, there was a 2 year, 3 year, and a 4 year. Is that still in effect when the United States Army there? You get a certain amount of time to sign up for?
Yes, sir, it is. So with the reserve, an initial contract is 6 years plus 2 years in the individual ready reserve. And
Okay.
what the individual ready reserve means is they no longer have to
Right.
participate in their monthly battle assemblies. However, like say for instance, if they wanted that opportunity to come back, or perhaps if there's something going on and they do get called back,
Right.
they can be initiated back into the reserve service.
Okay, so
So
to clarify that though, when you put in your, let's just say 4 years, you sign up, and then you have that 2 years inactive. That's where people have to realize that 2 years you can still be called up if again within those 2 years, right?
Y-
That's what you're responsible for,
Yes, it is a possibility, but I have never seen that happen.
right? Okay, because I was curious how that worked on that part. You were going to say something, Sergeant Jackson?
yes, sir. So for the active duty side, whenever you sit down, and you're talking to a recruiter, you will have those options prior to you even signing your contract to see exactly what military occupational specialty (MOS) that you're going to be going into to see exactly how long that contract is. So certain contracts, for instance, if you're going into the medical field, you generally may have like a 6 year obligation just because the training involved when that
Okay,
is so extensive is based like a one for one parallel to like the civilian sector. So if you're going to college for respiratory
nice.
therapy, you're going to do the
Wow.
same thing in the Army, but again, you want to incur like a longer contract. Certain
Okay.
contracts, they do have a 2 year option. It's like a 2-2-4. So
That's what I
basically,
was
what happened
curious
is
if they
that,
still had it.
what
If
was
they
that, sir?
still had that 2 year, that's what I was curious.
Yeah, so with the 2 year, the way that works is 2 years of active duty. Within like that 18-month mark, they'll go ahead and ask like, hey, would you like to re-enlist for active duty, or would you go into like the inactive? Excuse me, would you go into the reserves? So that's basically what will happen. You would do 2 years active, do 2 years in the reserves, then you'd be in the IRR for 4 years.
And that's what I like about people, I really want, if some parents are watching this tonight for their kids, and what they do is just, for example, the benefits of 2 years in the Army. I wish people realize afterwards, like when I'm out, you get a lot of, it really helps you in the civilian life now, to get a job. When I go in there and you put, like, even when we try to hire veterans, a lot of companies try to hire veterans. So by getting that, 2 years, even whatever you can, it really takes off afterwards. And we're going to get into like schooling and also that too. But so you got the 4 years like that. All right. So there's two different ranks. You got your commissioned and non-commissioned. I was wondering if you could explain what that is.
All right, so you have the commissioned officers. So they're the brass of the Army. So
Right.
with those, they have to have a 4-year degree or higher. You can
Okay.
either go ahead and commission directly from like the recruiting, which you'll go through OCS, which is
Okay.
Officer Candidate Schooling. With that one, that's done in Fort Benning, Georgia. So you'll still go through basic training. You'll still go through the OTS school, and then after that, that's whenever you get selected to go into a branch. So our branch varies. You have JAG, you have quartermaster, you have field artillery, you have a whole bunch of different branches that you can go into. Then the second half of that, well, not really second half, there are 3 parts. You have the warrant officers. So warrant officers, they specialize in enlisted MOSs. So like, for
Okay.
instance, food service, we have a warrant for that. 422 Alpha, if I'm not mistaken. So basically what they do is they specialize in all field feeding operations. So
Okay.
whether that be in like at the duty station or whether that be in the field, they specialize in all aspects of that. So that's the equipment, that's the personnel, that's the training, that's what warrant officers do. Then
Okay.
lastly, you have enlisted folks. So enlisted folks, they're the bulk of the Army. We're the ones that keep
Right.
the Army
Yeah.
turning and moving. What was that, sir?
No, I agree with you. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So we keep the Army turning and moving. Like, that's our job.
And
Point
that's
A to
what
point
everybody
B.
comes. So when an 18-year-old, somebody 18 out of high school, they graduate, they come down to Allentown, they sit with you. Is that where you really, I guess this is where you really can get their interest, because it's going to be new to them. Do a lot of them come in with people? Like, are they, like, say an 18-year-old wants to bring their parents or 17-year-old to talk? They're able to do that, right?
Yes. So typically, when we have individuals that are interested at 17, they do bring in their parents, and
Yeah.
we definitely require a parental consent. And this also gives us an opportunity to explain to the families and expound on the knowledge regarding whether it's active duty or the
Right.
Army Reserve, and then go through a lot of the career opportunities that we do have, just to ensure like there's not a misconception like there's only one job, and there's actually not. There's like
Right.
over 150 jobs for
Yeah.
active duty, and then for the reserves it's 120. And then just gaining that knowledge about the occupational specialties, and then educational opportunities as well.
That is awesome. So then on that part, is this where you give advice? Like, because how does like somebody come in like to be officer versus enlisted? Okay. Do they come in with, say, if they have schooling, that's where you would say to them, listen, you can go to an officer because you have schooling, right?
So, for individuals that want to be considered for the officer candidate school, they typically come in with a bachelor's degree already.
Okay.
And that's actually like one of the requirements for OCS.
Right.
Now, if there's an individual that is wanting to attend college and take the officer route, this is when we get into the ROTC program.
That's prior. That's
Yeah.
in the beginning, right? That's
Yes.
gotcha. Okay. So that's where
Yes, sir.
they
So
can go
like
in.
with the
No, go ahead.
ROTC program, is generally done at the college level. So with that, they'll still technically be inside the Army. They just won't be commissioned until after they graduated with their bachelor's degree. So that's one of those things that if you're interested, especially like for the younger generation, if they go to a school that offers ROTC, definitely go ahead and like apply for that. So you'll still go through very similar experiences as far as like if you were to enlist. So you still
Right.
have to take like, the ASVAB, you still have to do like the physical certain things to make you qualify for that. Then,
Okay.
like whenever you get inside the college, you're qualified, you want to roll into the ROTC program, then that's whenever, again, after your 4 years, you're going commission.
But the ROT, isn't that sometimes they have that in high school, if I'm not
Correct.
mistaken? They
That's
do, right?
Yes,
Okay.
that is junior. So with
Junior.
the JROTC, like especially here in Allentown, we have William Allen, we have Deerfield High School. Those are our two schools that offer JROTC. So basically, what will happen is that as long as they continue that path in the JROTC, whenever they enlist, they actually enlist at a higher rank. So they do 3 years of ROTC, they come in as an E3.
Okay, that
enlisted
makes total
enlisted
sense.
service.
I see. That is the
Mhm.
again, I mean, just the progress, and I'm excited about when I talk about it because I've been there, but it's still I wish other, if you have some like I said, a parents watching with their son or daughter that wants to go in. I want my son to go in the army. I told you that. I want him to go there first, then go to college. Now my wife's on the opposite end. She's more like, no, I want him to go to college, then the military, if he wanted to do it. So I try to tell people, you know, what
You
do
can
you
do both.
tell them? How do you what do you do? How do you talk to someone like that, and what do you say?
So, someone that is interested in going to college first, I always talk about the Army Reserve
Like,
because the Army
right.
Reserve is a great opportunity. One,
Yep.
you're only working one weekend out of the month.
Yep.
Then you gain an additional job specialty that, it gives you that additional experience that you would
Right.
allow you to gain more knowledge and education. And then this is when we start talking about our college tuition assistance,
Okay.
and with that, that is $4,500
Yeah.
annually. And then you can actually take up to 18 semester hours with that money. And
Okay.
then to include, along with that, the Montgomery GI Bill. And the Montgomery
Wow.
GI Bill, it actually just increased to about $480 additional money that you could actually use together in conjunction to pay for your education. And with the Montgomery GI Bill, that money is billed directly. It goes straight directly to the school. Now, say for instance, if reserve soldiers end up taking a active duty operational support position, meaning
Okay.
they're on active duty orders for about 28 days, but they're still reservists. They
Right.
also qualify for the forever GI Bill as
Yeah.
well. And so with the Forever GI Bill, that is 100% paid for if they are a full-time student. And that also applies for active duty as well.
This is what I'm talking about. This is why I love the information like this because you don't hear, it's one on one like this. Like, and that's now you can understand it a little bit more on that part, versus the reserves for, you have that option there or going full time. When you have the person comes into Allentown branch and say I walk in there, I want to do this. What's the first thing that you do with a new recruit coming into your office? Take me through that. For listen, I want to come in. I want to be in the infantry. What do you say to them, and how does the process work to get everything going?
So the first thing we do, sir, after we kind of like, sit down and have like a small little discussion, we'll go ahead and put them on a practice test. So that practice test goes over 4 of the 10 sections that are found on the ASVAB. That's
Okay.
arithmetic reasoning, paragraph comprehension, word knowledge, and mathematics knowledge. So generally with that, it's going to basically tell us how trainable they are. So
Okay.
the minimum score is a 31. The maximum score is a 99.
How do
So
they
it's
get?
not for
How can they study for that? Like, how can they study for that, knowing that they want to go in the military? Is there something just like for college, just you can still study for it?
yes, sir. Actually, a website called March numerical 2 success. So march2success.com. And then based whenever you enroll into March to Success, um, after you enroll, you're going to click on the link that's General Mastery for General Technical Mastery. And then you click that and it will take you to a
Wow.
website called Peterson. With that
Right.
Peterson website, they'll take a practice full-blown ASVAB. So with that, they'll tell them like, hey, this is your map. You're my academic predictor. So from
Okay.
there, it'll kind of give them a step-by-step guideline to go ahead and like, train them for the
Oh,
ASVAB. Not only the ASVAB, but with the March to Success, they go over nursing, they go over like science, they go over high school math, they go over like a lot of different things to just help out
wow.
the community. So that's
Great.
something that the Army had offered. It's a really, really great tool. Like any
Wow.
applicant that I have come in that I speak to, if they need some time to study or if they just want more study material, that's generally what I offer them. Because again,
Yeah,
it's
that
free of
would be
charge.
to me, that would be wouldn't that help you too? I mean, 'cause let's face it, the higher you score, the different qualification MOSs that you're gonna get, right? That you're gonna have a choice.
Yes, sir. So that basically says how trainable you are. So generally, the higher you score, the more opportunities you have for a better job placement. Yes,
Okay,
that you
that's another
qualify
word
for. Let me excuse
for
myself.
qualified. Okay, so now you've taken me, I've done my test, I've done all that. Now what
So at
after
that
that?
particular point, we would actually go through our medical questionnaire
Okay.
to ensure that there is nothing going on medically, that they are medically
Right.
qualified. And then once we find out that they are medically qualified, this is when we begin to do our scheduling for the Military Entrance Processing Center.
Okay.
And then they would go through that process with completing their physical and then enlistment. And of course, obviously selecting the occupation, right? Like that's
Right.
very important.
That was the
And
most
then
exciting thing because I was like, "What am I gonna be?" You know, I got here, I took this test. What am I gonna get? What do I get to do? I think that has got to be the most exciting part.
So one of the things after you're done taking your tests or even your practice tests, we can actually log in your scores to see what jobs you currently qualify for. So
Okay.
if you were looking at a certain profession to go into, you will
Okay.
automatically know if you are qualified, just pretty much based off the pre-test alone. So after you do take the ASVAB and you can qualify, that's just very preliminary. Then whenever you get into the physical, that's when we really know. So for instance, if you wanted to go into a job that does mechanics
Right.
and you had to do like wiring, like HVAC, if you're colorblind and you can't see wires, then you may be disqualified medically from that job, but
Right.
you can technically still serve in other positions.
Another position. So now that's MEP that you're talking about, right? That's where you sit. Certain Milton, you said about they're going to go next.
MEPS, yes, the
MEP.
Military Entry Processing Center. Yes, sir.
Okay, and then they go there. You take them down there. Do they go there by themselves, or how does that go?
So we normally transport every
That's what I thought.
applicant to MAPS, and oftentimes I don't want to negate job bonuses as well, simply
Right.
because some occupations do come with a bonus, right? Some of them are
Right.
up to $50,000, some of them are $10,000, or maybe even $15,000. It just depends on the job specification, like if it's human resources, or even like me, a job that's in demand right now would be construction engineering,
Okay.
motor transportation, or even culinary. Some of those occupations come with a bonus, and that's just that additional incentive as well.
Okay.
So when they get there, if they have not already created a temporary reservation with us and have made their selections, which we could actually see if a occupation already has a bonus
As a bonus.
tied
Okay.
to that job. Yes.
That's why I was curious to where. So now that you've done your ASAB, you've done your MEPS, you've done that. They come back. Now what's the next step? So now you sit them down. That person's down. You got. Are they done or now or what goes on now for the
So no,
bonuses and all that?
this is great. This is exciting because at that
Yeah.
point, when they complete their physical and their enlistment and they have their job,
All
what
good.
we do from there is we have future soldier training every Thursday here, right here in the recruiting station. And
Okay.
then this is when we begin to teach them some of the things that they will encounter and throughout
Wow.
basic training, like forming up in a formation, um, learning how to march,
Love
getting
it.
physically fit. Sometimes we have those discussions about diet, and sometimes we'll have even more in-depth discussion about the job they picked, if they have more questions regarding that. And then obviously some administrative work as well. And there's a
Right.
website that they would participate in as well to ensure that they're staying on track with their training.
Okay. Because that's got it.
So
Because sometimes what? Sometimes it could take 6 months to a year to get to it, or is it a lot faster than that nowadays?
In some cases, it can be a lot faster, which is why we have the
Right.
future soldier training, just in case we have applicants that are in the delayed entry program.
I remember that name. Okay, so that's when they know, like, next year or something like that, that could be going into that. What
It
is
doesn't have to be a year out. It could be, 2 months. It
oh,
could be
wow.
a quick ship
yeah.
um, option as well. We do have quick ship. So individuals that are wanting to say, hey, look, the Army is what I want to do. I qualify for this particular job, and we want to do quick ship. So quick ship does come with a bonus as well.
Okay,
And that way they're not in the delayed entry program with us.
So one thing I
okay.
would like to add, so whenever an applicant is signing their contract, they
Right.
actually know when they're going to be leaving.
Mhm.
They know,
Okay,
hey, I'm going to be going to Fort Jackson, South Carolina for basic training. I'm going to go to Fort Greg Adams for advanced individual training. These are the dates that I'm going to be going for. This is how long my training is. This is how long my contract is. So
wow.
like they get all of that information before they sign their contract. So they know
Before
exactly what it is that they're signing up for. It's not a
so when you
surprise.
so when you say they sign, so is that to where when we talked about where you take them to get sworn in, Because is it not official until the swear-in or the contract, basically, right? You take them down there to do that, right?
So with the MEPS process, whenever we have an applicant to enlist, after they go through the test, physical, they're going to talk to a career counselor that's going to verify what
Okay.
we've done
All
back
right.
at the station as far as like their job temporary reservation. Then after they verify all those documents, then that's whenever they're going to go over to the swear-in ceremony, and then they're going to officially swear in to the United States Army.
And that's it. Yeah, I remember that. I remember that day on that part. One of the questions I had too was, I know it's 18, but is there a max age too also for the military now? Is it 18 to 40 or is 18? I wasn't sure what it was now.
So technically, the age range, sir, is 17 to 42. So
Okay.
42, they just recently increased that because they want to go based off of like when you can actually retire according to like the United States. So like the official retirement age is 62. So if you were to join at 42 years old, so yes, we still have applicants that are 42. If they're going to
Wow.
join at 42, they can still do their 20 years, still get their pension. By the time they actually retire, they qualify for Social Security now
Yep.
because that's the
Jeez,
retirement age.
And in
that
fact, we did just have someone sign up to complete a full enlistment at the age of 42 as well.
So it's never too late.
wow. No, that's what I get what you're saying there because it makes common sense. 20 years and they're 62. I wanted to bring up the next part was about, and we had talked about Jaffer, the physical fitness. What I know there's, that's what is it? APFT, combat fitness test. Is it still that you come in and do they have to do some kind of pre-fitness with the military now before you can get accepted? Because I know what the requirements are when you're in basic, you got to pass so much. But how do you get to that point beforehand to where if say the person's not physically fit right away, is there ways of working around that and helping?
Okay, yes, there is. So one of the first things that we do after an applicant enlists, we give them an occupational physical assessment test, which is called the
Okay.
OPAT. That consists of 4 different events. One is going to be like the standing long jump. You're going to have your feet planted. You're going to pretty much like leap forward as if you're a small little bunny. You're going to do that 3 reps. Then you're going to do like a seated ball toss, and it's really kind of like checking like upward mobility of your muscles. So you're pretty
Okay.
much going to toss the ball. From there, you're going to do a deadlift. So the deadlift is done with a hex bar.
Right.
So after the deadlift, you're going to do somewhat kind of like the shuttle sprint in a sense, but almost kind of like the Pacergram fitness test. So you're going to have a beat test. You have to run back and forth. Now, after the OPAT has been complete, that's
Right.
whenever we get into like the future soldier training. So whenever we conduct future soldier training, generally it's all calisthenics. So we're doing push-ups,
Right.
sit-ups, sprints, things like that. Now, the Army does have a program for anybody that is kind of a bit on the heavier side that
Right.
wants
That's
to
I
work out
remember.
a
Yep.
little bit more. So that's called ARMS. So like if you're
Okay.
in a certain body mass index, the Army will take you, they'll go ahead and put you in the ARMS program. That ARMS program is
Okay.
up to 90 days where
Before you get sworn in, is that before you sign up, or is that during, like right before it or after?
so future soldier training is
Yeah,
done whenever. So if we have an applicant that hasn't enlisted yet, that just wants to come to future soldier training, they can. At one point in
that's
time,
what
we
you were
had a
telling me.
mother and a daughter that participated in future soldier training. So they were both working out. So future soldier training is done by any and everybody. So if an applicant has friends that are interested in the military but haven't committed yet, they can come to future soldier training. If a dad and his son wants to come to future soldier training, they can do that. We
Wow.
offer this to the Allentown community.
That is awesome there because I mean I like I said I don't remember what I really did on that part, but I remember in basic training, you had to do the 40, and then it was a 1 mile. You had to run it in a certain amount of time, and I didn't pass it in the beginning. Naturally, at the end of all those weeks,
Yeah.
then it just your body adjusts to it. So they do all that. They get everything qualified. Your weight. Is there anything else you tell them for physical fitness before they go in? Like what you should be doing prior, to signing up, or is there other things that they can look at to do to get better before they go?
So the biggest thing will always be just basic calisthenics, right? So
Uh,
in basic training, you're going to do something called like a ruck march, right? So you're pretty much
Right.
going to be walking around with the pack on your
Okay.
back. One of the things I do advise my applicants is that kind of get your feet ready. So like go out on hikes, do those kind of things. Because again, you're going to be walking. Like,
Right.
work on your push-ups because these are things that you can do at home. The whole concept of basic training is to get you to the Army standard. That's what it is. So you may not be strong in push-ups, but at the end of basic, you will. Or
Yeah.
again, if you're very good in push-ups, you're going to be even better at push-ups. So this is
Yeah.
one of the things about basic. It's like again, it's the baseline that the Army's trying to get you at. So
Yeah.
again, work
I
out
was
on your own,
nervous as hell.
push-ups, sit-ups, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I was nervous as hell, boy. I was like, "Oh my god, am I gonna pass this?" And after a while, but like you said, your body just excelled. That last couple weeks, it was nothing. I wanted to ask you with the physical fitness, it's all the same, right? I mean, I know there's a difference between for like a male female different test, but it doesn't matter whether you're 18 or 29, 30. It's all the same physical fitness all across, right?
So the events are the same, yes, but obviously, as we grow in age, some
Okay.
things we might struggle with a little bit. So the
Right.
requirements is obviously going to be 60%, but we're NCO, so we have to make 70% in every
Right.
event
All
that
right.
we
Okay.
participate in, no matter what our age is, and and we keep ourselves in
I love it.
shape for the most part.
Right.
But there
I love it.
are age factors for each physical fitness to pass a Army fitness exam.
That is awesome. I love it. So let me see. So okay, so I feel, I like how you talked about how they help you out. I mean, like I said, to make it through there. Now the fun part. Now it's what you've got me all done. I'm all signed up. I know when I'm leaving. What happens to me then? Do I just come and see you? Does a recruit come and see you and say, "Okay, I'm off," or how does it work?
So again, with the future soldier training, that's what we have.
Mhm.
So we build more rapport with that. So as
Okay.
Sergeant Milton stated, we have future soldier training every Thursday from 4 to 5. In some events, we do have a future soldier mega event. So with the future soldier mega event, we will take future soldiers or again family members, whoever, out to local Army units to see exactly how
Ah.
they train.
Mm.
So
Oh
I want
wow.
to say about probably 2 months ago, we went down to Fort Indiantown
Yep,
Gap
we
to
just
check
did
out the
one.
aviation. So like we
That
took those guys down there. They went ahead and looked at the aviation equipment that they have, how the aviation mechanics work, and they actually got to see
wow.
like real live soldiers doing their jobs.
Wow, I
So
wish I would
we
have
do
had
more
that.
than just like the Thursdays. Yep.
Yeah, because that's such information. You're giving that person the opportunity to see everything. That's what I like about that. So it's still standard. So if you could explain basic training versus AIT, and if you could explain what that is, break it down.
Go ahead.
So again, basic combat training is to make you into a soldier. That's what it's for.
Okay.
So even if you have that 42-year-old with that 18-year-old, they're going to go through the same standards.
Okay.
That's what they're going to do. They're going to learn marksmanship. They're going to learn casualty care. They're going to learn how to be a basic soldier, like drill and ceremony. They're going to understand like, hey, how to address superiors, how to
Okay.
address like NCOs, warrant officer, commission officer. That's what they're going to learn. So anything and everything that makes you into a basic soldier. Now, advanced individual training. I'm going to let Sergeant Milton take it.
For
Yeah.
individual training, excuse me, this is where we actually get into learning our specialty. This is where we learn our
Okay.
job. And then depending on what job selection you have, like a good example would be I chose unit supply specialist. So my job training was approximately 9 weeks in addition
Wow.
to basic
On
training.
top of it.
And so this is where I actually learned like all the procurement requisitions. This is where I learned how to inventory equipment,
Okay.
supply and accountability. It also gave me the opportunity to get additional credentials as well, but that's a different topic. And
Right.
we can get into that. Like if we could, we would love to do a part two if we could, so
Yeah.
we can
Oh yeah.
actually
Definitely.
go into
Definitely.
the Army Cool program where we can talk about those additional credentialings you can actually receive with your job specialty. So the advanced individual training that's the part where you learn your job,
Okay.
right? And that's the only thing that you're focusing on. And once you get done with completing advanced individual training, you can either report directly to your assigned unit, but also most of the time we do have individuals that come back and they assist us in our
Okay.
recruitment process. And then we call those individuals hometown recruiters, and what they end up doing is describing their experience from start
Right.
to finish, like
Right.
from their initial contact with the recruiter, whether we conducted a table setup at their high school, whether we was out doing face-to-face communications with our community partners, whether we were at
Wow.
a job link or a job fair. And so they describe their experience from start to finish. And
Finish.
that's pretty much the bulk of our advertisement, because we want to ensure that individuals, when they do enlist, they enjoy what they do. And because they enjoy what they do,
Right.
they end up their friends or family may end up, coming along and requesting the information and also completing an enlistment with us as well.
Yeah, I just love the information you're put out there and how you do that everything's pre, you know what I mean? You're gonna learn everything like that. I didn't have that, and I just think that's a great, great concept to it. So are you on your AIT, is that still kind of like a basic training in a way? You're still being in that first stage, right? I mean, I'm sure I had told you before that mine was the long one. Mine was the 16 weeks. We were the first ones in the 80s to start our AIT within the first week. They wanted to do a one-stop shop, basic, the whole thing. But when you go to AIT, there is it's still you're living in the barracks. You're just going to a classroom, right? You're going to what your MOS is going to be,
Correct. So you'll still get up in the morning. You will still
right?
conduct physical fitness every morning. You will still have your designated run days, and
Okay,
then you'll still be living in the barracks. But in the barracks, you might have a roommate. Versus in basic training, it's an open bay, meaning
right.
there are like 30
A
individuals
lot of
in there with you. So when you get to
Yeah,
advanced individual training, you might have just a one other person or maybe two other person sharing a room with you in the barracks.
with
And so
that.
you go to class and you still have to march in formation, whether you're going to breakfast, lunch, or dinner. So those fundamentals still applicable in advanced individual training.
So when you now you're done, you're doing your AT. I want to talk real quick about the family side of it. So when you're in a basic training, you can still they give you time, I'm sure, to reach out to family members, right? I mean, you got those phone calls. I'm sure. I don't know if it sells nowadays. Who knows? But I
It's
remember.
cell phones nowadays. It's cell phones
Yeah, I
nowadays because
figured that was.
whenever I joined, we had the
Yeah,
pay phone and you had to use like a pay card
that's
and
what we
you had
had.
to type in like 10 digits, then the number, then you had to wait for somebody to answer. So generally, during basic training, they do get their cell phones around like Sunday. Again, it's pending on the training because again, they have
Okay,
like a lot of training coming up. They may
that
not
makes
get
sense.
that time. But whenever they first get to their basic training unit, they are given a packet. That packet is going to have, hey, this is the basic training company that I'm
Right.
in. Mom, dad, sister, brother, whoever. Take a picture of it, send it to them, so that way they can go in and send you mail, send you, care packages, motivational packages. But yeah, generally Sundays they'll have their days,
All right,
have their
that
days to
makes total
contact their
sense.
families.
That makes sense for nowadays because I was wondering with all the technology now versus back then for that. So what happens now? All right, they're done. They go to their job. What happens with the family? Say if somebody's married, say you're 25, 30 years old and you're married, wife, kids. Does that all get into taken into advance like where you're going and what you're doing? Like what does somebody do for that?
Yes, sir. So that is taken into consideration, especially like if you have a child that has a medical condition that they may require special care.
Right.
So basically, whenever you're first enlisting and that stuff happens, like your family, they get enrolled into Exceptional Family Members Program (EFMP). And with that, whenever the Army is placing you at a job, and if your child needs some type of special care, they're going to try to get you to that unit closest for that care. So that's generally how that happens. Now, every single military installation kind of consider it as like a small mini city. You're going to
Okay.
have what we consider a commissary, basically a grocery store. You have what we call like a PX. The PX is
Yeah. Wow.
basically like a small like Walmart kind of thing because it's going to have everything. It's going to have your cleaning supplies, going to have TVs, going to have some clothes. Um, Generally, after that, you have like a food court. You have a plethora of gyms, a plethora of different things outside of that
Okay.
community. And then on top of that, you have a thing called morale, welfare, recreation, MWR. So like again, you can go to MWR if you want to get like some cheap tickets to Disney, or
Right.
if they have like a sporting event coming
Awesome.
up. So like they do a lot of things for the family. So with the families, the Army is going to take care of you and your family. So
That's what I
generally,
wanted to
you
ask.
can.
I wasn't sure on that part. Like, when does things are so different nowadays, and families like
Mhm.
really workplace balance, which somebody would know, and but I didn't know like from day one is that family in that military family now, and then from there on, I mean, you're taking care of them as well.
Yes. So whenever you first enlist, like we have to have all of your documents so that way we're going to
Right.
get your family enrolled. So then after you're done with your advanced individual training and you're getting orders to, let's say, Germany, like
Okay.
if your family are on your orders, then your family's going to get sent over to Germany with you. Like
Okay.
after you go to Germany first and get established. That's
Get
generally how
established.
that happens.
That's what I figured, and I was wondering how that worked with like kids, and I'm sure I was reading, whether it's true or not, like on deployment they don't go, but other than that, they're a military family from day one. They're in, right? You're invested. You have your family. They're a military family. So the next part is now we've done all that. Everybody's settled in. You know, you're working on your job. I wanted to bring up the pay. You know, everybody nowadays, and when I look at the pay here, and I got your thing right here from your job fair. You know how an E1, for example, is 2017 a month, $24,000 a year. E2, 2261, 27 some $1,000 a year. When you break this down to even an E4, $2,633 a month, and that's 31,500 compared to years ago. That is some competitive pay because you're not paying for medical, right?
Correct.
Correct.
You're not paying for food, right? So when I look at that and I broke it down, I was like, with numbers, I'm like, that's like making $17 an hour plus everything free that you're taking care of. You know, then you were talking about Sergeant Milton. You were saying about how the family, if you could talk about that, how that cost comes into it, what you're making. I should say it like that.
So you're referring to the basic housing allowance,
Right, right.
which is
Being
an
married, being
additional,
married.
yes, which is an additional set of funding to assist a soldier for providing, paying for like their mortgage or
Okay.
their rent. That also, I want to include a basic subsistence allowance as well, which
Mhm.
would be the food allowance also. So with the basic housing allowance, that particular funding is determined based off of the location or where
Right.
you're stationed.
That's
So I
that's
think
amazing there.
so I think a good example would be for us here in Allentown. I think our basic housing allowance is close to like
24,
20
24,
24 $2,400.
$2,400
Okay.
in addition to our normal pay.
Your
And
normal
again,
pay
that's
that
based
you get
off of
for housing.
that's based off the market.
And that's all the market. That's what I figured for that. So then with the family, like, you have the kid, you know, you're getting an allowance for I'm sure if you have 3 or 4 children, but where do you still have military housing on bases? I know some of them do and some of them don't, but do the married people live outside the base versus
So
on?
you So you have the option of doing either, sir.
Mhm.
So realistically, if you're just entering the army, I'm just going to tell you stay on post,
Yeah.
just because
Right.
everything is there for you. Like your place of work, if you need like medical attention, pediatric care, if you need to
Right.
go pick up some, food, or if you need to like you want to go watch a movie because they have movie
Right.
theaters on post now.
Mhm.
It's everything's local for you, and that keeps you out of like the traffic, out of the rut. Everything's
Right.
there. Now, like okay, if you've been in some time and you want to set roots, then you can use your BAH to like go purchase a house outside of post. So it's really going to
Okay.
be up to you however convenient it is for you. But like just entering, stay on post. Stay
Yes.
on post.
And we also want to include there is a daycare. Daycare services
I saw
are
that. Yeah, I
provided
meant to ask
for
you.
on the installation. So if you need daycare, it's definitely available to you. And then I also want to include, like, if there is a spouse that wants to like work, they want employment. We
Right.
also have another program called the private public partners, and what they do, they assist
Wow.
families with finding opportunities for employment, and that's applicable to both active duty and the reserves.
Okay. Wow, that's I brought that up because I remember you telling me that there. I was like, wow, you're talking they really take care of you, your family, when you look at that. And I
So
like what you said on the market. So they've got their houses, they lived. Now, if you go in for like 4 years when you tell people, I was able to put myself up on levy, like I wanted to go to Korea. So everybody's like, you're crazy. I was like, well, I didn't want to stay at Fort Knox for the whole time. You know, so are you able to request where you would like to go to still, or is that like if you want to go to a certain state, or are you able to put in for stuff like that?
So the original requisition, sir, whenever you're first talking to a recruiter, some jobs do offer a
Right.
selection that you can go and pick from. Now,
Okay.
generally, if it's not available, whenever you're in AIT, Advanced
Right.
Individual Training, your staff is going to come out and say, hey, where would you like to go? And they're going to give you a wish list. With that
Mhm.
wish list, it's going to be based off the Army's needs. So the
Okay.
big thing is that Army needs will always be priority. So
Right.
again, like if everybody picks Fort Knox and then they have a position open in Germany, you want that Germany position, then more than likely you want to get that Germany position leaving AIT.
Wow, that's what I said. I loved when I went. I saw other people do it too. Everybody just kept saying, "Don't go to Fort Benning. It's too hot. It's hot. It's hot in Fort Benning." And I said, "All right, I'll stay away from Fort Benning." Because they said they had flags with the different colors and when you can come inside and out. But on that part, all right. So we're all done there. So now you talked about meal allowances, housing, the healthcare. I really want to let people know, and your family is covered, right? I mean, you can go to military doctors on post, and does the military now able to go outside of the network, or has that changed or not?
So, like a good example would be for myself and Sergeant First Class Jackson. We are active duty soldiers,
Right.
but we utilize something called TRICARE
That's the part.
Remote, which allows us to utilize medical facilities that surround us. Like,
Okay.
so our primary care could be Lehigh Valley or it could be Cedar Crest.
Right. Right.
And that is absolutely 100% covered for us. Like, we do not, because we are active duty, we don't pay a premium. Our dental is also covered as well.
So with that being
Wow.
said, now in the event, let's say if you're at like a smaller military installation that doesn't have everything on base as far as like, hospitals,
Right.
then they will refer you off post. So that's
Okay.
generally how it happens. So either way, you're going to get taken care of. It's either going to be on post or off post. So again, the larger the installation, the more care they're able to give you versus like
And
a
the kids
smaller
are covered
installation.
too, right? The kids, everything. Kids, everybody, right? Your wife, everybody's covered, right?
Everybody's covered.
Everybody's covered.
Everybody's covered. So if you're about to have a baby, that's where you're going to have it on post. Good old
You're gonna
Fort
break
Bragg.
that is outstanding. All right. So I only have like two or three more things. So now the biggest thing I loved is the paid vacation. I love that. 30 days a year. That is right there. I still love how they do that. If you could talk about that, how people take it.
So, as far as days, we gain 2.5 days every month.
Okay.
And those 30 days of paid vacation, normally you grow those throughout the year. So, you definitely have to use them like within the
Right.
year, right? And so, like, I think you're going on leave pretty soon for like
Yeah.
2 weeks, because we have to we have
Right.
to use our leave days, and utilizing our leave days um, definitely gives us our opportunity to have that rest and relaxation. And then of course, it does have to be approved, but we do have like that leeway to
Right.
schedule like which days we would actually want to have off.
They
And
have
even
all
more so, like if you have like a special event coming up, so for instance, there's like a wedding. We just had a recruiter. He had
right.
a wedding to go to. He was able to go to that wedding because again, it's one of those important life events. So
Right.
like that's the reason why we have that leave as well. To do
Nice.
things like that. Yeah, you can travel the world. A lot of times, if you're near like a military installation, you can do was a hop flight.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
So
flight. You can still do that
yep,
then. You can still yep, that
yeah,
was
you
great.
can
Yep.
still do that. So like there are so many other benefits, especially whenever it comes to like that leave. A lot of times
Okay.
we have partnerships with people that they give us like paid vacations. Like
Right.
I want to say the Margarita cruise line. I want to say they do like free cruises for us. So like there are a lot of different benefits whenever it comes to vacation. It's just not you take leave and then you just kind of like sit around. Like go explore the world. Go explore.
Right. That's what I mean. Yeah, you can do that when you have that time. So then also I wanted to ask about the pay. Is it still one time a month or is it two now?
So with pay for active duty, it's on the 1st and the 15th. So
Okay.
that's twice a month. But
Twice.
for the reserves, that's going to be once a month because you're only working that one weekend out of the month.
One
And
weekend.
then if you have your annual training, like in June, then
Okay.
you would get your annual training pay.
And you got that. Okay. One more thing, because I'll tell you what, I have so much I'm gonna love to do a part two. So I have over here, there's 150 careers to choose from, and I have a list here that you had given me.
Mhm.
Is so that's a lot of jobs. This is what that goes in front of them, and this is what they see, what you have to be qualified for. So say if I came to you and I said, Sergeant Milton, I want to be in field artillery. Is there something that you tell the people what they need to do that? Is there certain qualifications you have to meet for all these different type of jobs?
So for job specific qualifications, obviously you must be a U.S. citizen, meet the age requirements.
Okay.
But the most important piece will be how you test on the ASVAB,
Same thing.
because
Okay.
the ASVAB will determine,
Yeah.
based off of your line scores, which occupational specialty that you are actually the strongest in.
Okay.
Um, and with that, that's when we are able to see when they have a qualifying score 31 or above, we're able to
Right.
see what they qualify
Mhm.
for. But if someone is interested in something specific, we always tell them to utilize this app called Careers. And the reason why is because it will tell everyone who is interested the specific line score that
Right.
you need to qualify. So, for a good
Great.
example, if someone is wanting human resources, then they need to have a certain qualification for their clerical score. And
Okay.
that clerical score could
Makes
mean,
sense.
they need to have 100, but we have
Okay.
to like make sure that we are explaining it in a way where it's not on a same grading scale as is the high school, but more so on a percentile, if that's correct.
And that
That
makes
is
sense
correct.
there.
So like after you're done taking the ASVAB, you're gonna have line scores broken down. So some of those line scores, for example, Star Milton said is clerical. So the 10 sections of the ASVAB: general science, arithmetic, reasoning, word knowledge, paragraph comprehension, mathematics knowledge, electronics information, auto shopping information, mechanical
Right.
comprehension, and assembling objects. So if you're looking for a clerical score, that clerical score is going to be comprised of word knowledge, paragraph comprehension, arithmetic, reasoning, and mathematics knowledge. So like that's how you're going to score if you're trying to get into like clerical.
All right, and that makes sense there because my nephew was talking about medical when I was looking at this, and he's young, and I told him, I said, "Wow, when you have dentists, look at that, physical therapists, and orthopedic, and you're talking all these kind of things can relate to outside transfer. I
Correct.
mean, let's face it, you're in the military for that, and you come on out, but in order to the score has to be. But then I'm sure, isn't there a longer? This will be the last question. Isn't there a longer term or time that you have to spend when you go for professions like that? Like, is it more than 6 you go through all that schooling, but then you have to do a little bit longer of service? Is that
No, sir. So the maximum
okay.
contract you have is a 6-year contract.
Oh,
That's what we get
okay.
right. So generally, it's already factored into the training that you have to do.
Mhm.
So again, if
Okay.
you're going for like a physical therapist, then that's going to be one of those MOS that you probably gonna have like a 6-year
That's
obligation,
what I mean.
just
So the
because
6
it's.
versus the 2 for that's why I should have said it like that. That's correct, like you said. So
Mhm.
that's a guarantee you're gonna be there for 6 years to do something like that.
And again, sir, like before they even like sign their contract, whenever we do a temporary reservation, they're going to see exactly what it is that they're signing up
Mhm.
for. So that's going to come with any type of bonuses, any type of place of duty station, like that
Nice.
temporary reservation. They're going to see all of that stuff before we lock in.
Before you lock it in. Oh, wow.
Yep.
I'll tell you, I wanna thank both of you tonight. This is really great. I didn't even get to everything. I have so much, and I'm hoping that we like I said, we can do a part 2 because there's so much that the Army offers right now that I hope that even on Facebook here, if some of the moms or dads are watching it, when they watch it,
Mhm.
that they're in our area because 'cause I'm in the Lehigh Valley also, or I'm in Bucks, but Lehigh is where I work. Um, they can come right to your office right in Allentown, and after this, I'll put the address and everything in there so they can stop and see you, and then I'm sorry, one last question was, so it's 17 is the minimum where you can start working with you, right? So if I had
Correct.
my son at 17, I'm gonna bring him down there. That's when the planning would start of what would be a good route for a child.
Yes, sir. With parental consent. Yes, sir.
And then the scores, right? Your schooling has to be really I mean, the better school like if a 17-year-old's on an honor roll, right? And they're in an honor roll, does that help as well? Because it's gonna make them hopefully score higher, right?
In
That,
theory, in
in
theory, you would hope
theory,
so. Yes.
in theory.
And
Um,
right.
go ahead.
I'm sorry. So one thing I would like to say is if your school offers a SASVAB, which is a student version of the ASVAB, they
Okay.
need to take that there
Mhm.
because that
Okay.
SASVAB helps kind of
Okay.
guide the structure for us in joining the Army. That's really
Okay.
what it's going to do.
That's what's
It's
gonna
going
do.
to
All
it's
right.
going to help with that.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you both. I mean, I can't tell you enough for coming on. I know it's night. We've already almost got an hour. So you believe that? That goes that close to,
Yeah, goes
to a
quick.
long
Quick.
for a long time. So, but I definitely want to have you back on again. And we had a lot of comments over here, and I'll go back and answer some of them with them if they have. And thank you both. And I'm going to talk to you right after this video. But again, thank you so much for coming on, and thank you for your service. You're both going to be retiring soon. I'm like, Jesus, look at that. Are you going to go back to Charlotte?
Yes, I plan to. I don't plan to work or get back into the civilian sector immediately. I plan
Right.
on just resting and enjoying my time.
Right.
And then after about maybe 6 or 7 months, maybe a year, after I do some traveling, I'm going to
Right.
go right into working in my next specialty, which is phlebotomy.
Did you ever think that this day would come? I mean, that's a long time, you
No,
know?
you don't think about it. You really don't. Like, I remember my very first day of basic training, like, and I'm
Right.
20 years in. So for me, like, it's one of those things that you've been doing it for so long, it doesn't seem like it's been that long. Like, it doesn't
Right.
seem it's been that long, but here it is. I'm sitting at 20 years.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
because I
time
tell
go
my
by
son
fast.
Yeah, because
Very
I told
fast.
my son, "Here's all my awards." I said, "You don't lose these. These are yours." I said, "Hey," I said, "I'm proud of the stuff that I have on behind me. I worked my butt off for that." But like you said, I mean, that's a long I say 20 years, but are you gonna go back to South Carolina then, Sergeant Jackson, or
So I'm not sure. So Alaska was my very first duty station,
Oh, wow.
and I love Alaska so much. I really want to go back. I know
Did you
people don't like
travel a
the
couple
cold.
different places or in the
What was
career?
that, sir?
Where did you go within those 20 years?
I've been all over the place, honestly, but like Alaska is definitely my second home. Alaska is my second home. I like Allentown, believe it or not. I don't know, I might consider, but I'm not sure yet. But Alaska's
Right.
definitely calling my name.
It's calling your name. Wow,
It's
Alaska,
calling my name.
that's gonna be something if you're stationed up there. My brother was in the Navy. He was up there for 6 months, and I just remember he wanted us to purchase some stuff and send it to him because it was so expensive up there that we would
Yeah.
have to send a card battery or anything like that. So, again, I could keep going here, but again, thank you so much, and, I'll talk to you right after this video and talk to you very soon, okay?
Okay,
Thanks,
thank you for
everybody.
having us.
Thank you for having
Yes,
us.
thank you.
So I ain't even need to.
No, you went off the dome. Good stuff. Good stuff, cousin.
Thank you.
Off the dome. And that's a funky people.